So, I've been looking at a lot of people discussing love as of late, and it's in the, cultural zeitgeist, the cultural milieu. So, it's time to describe what love is, and a lot of people have confused love with sexual attraction. And usually this is a man thing, but now it's become like a society wide epidemic of people not really understanding what love is and what sexual attraction are. And they're two completely different concepts. And I think what illustrates this more than anything else is actually the LGBT plus QIA, whatever, blah, 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 yada, yada, XYZ affiliations. So you can be sexually attracted to the same gender, right? Or you could be gender dysphoric or all of the other things. And even if you feel that way, even if that's what you're attracted to, you can still love someone that would make a family and make a better union and be the best version of yourself, period. And I think no other example explains it more perfectly than that. And so you're going to have to divorce the ideas between sexual attraction and love in your mind and in culture as a whole. Because a lot of people have, just blindly assumed that, love has to be this, sort of lewd, lurid sort of ordeal in combination with, an intense longing. It's kind of tough to describe it, right? Because someone that's outside of society looking in, right? I see at least the way people associate what is, attraction and what is a relationship and what they want out of a partner, right? And for women, it's always the devil chat, the 666s. And for men, it's just completely down to whoever will take them for the most part, because most men have no spine, no soul, and are going to end up in the meat grinder as a slave and paying taxes, to minorities for their EBT cards, paying for a child that they don't get to see that might not even be theirs at the end of the day. Like, all of these things are going to happen, and, they're going to end up in family court and getting ruined, right? Because they can't control their attraction. So, love is independent of attraction. Like, you can love someone, for instance, family members, and not have any sort of sexual attraction to them. And if you're thinking about love and how it needs to relate to you and what you should be looking for, you need to find, at least in a partner, someone that, you can, as a basis, get along with, right? If you cannot spend the rest of your life with someone, period, you shouldn't be associated with that person. You should get as far away as humanly possible, because of the chemicals in your brain tricking you into falling into these tropes about, lifetime entanglements. And the reality of the situation is 9 out of 10 men should not even be bothered with relationships to begin with. You're entering into an unfair contract where you're going to get destroyed, basically. So it's going to be much better for you overall, just realistically, financially, spiritually, everything else, if you just simply don't go into these sort of contracts, don't go into these issues, if you just figure out a way to live alone and figure out a way to cope with being alone. You stand the best chance of success then, and furthermore, when you factor women out of your life, a lot of avenues open up, and I don't think enough people talk about how, love. If you're dissociating love from sexual attraction, you can also then posit love with things that might not even be human, like artificial intelligence. Like, is it possible to love an AI? And that's an interesting idea that's going to come up and going to be in litmus tests for the future. And, AI is very rapidly approaching the point where, realistic love, communication, personalities, all of that could be on the table. And especially if you're divesting yourself from being sexually attracted to it, there might be a future, for the copers out there, for the 90% of men that are not going to find a decent partner in this world, not going to find someone that's going to be loyal to them, right? I'm not saying that's 100% the way, but I'm saying it's definitely things you should think about when you're thinking about divesting love and attraction from your physical needs. And realistically, I've said this before in other videos, but I think physical needs should be treated like any other as far as sex goes, for the people that want it, like the people that are overtly the ham dogs. Like, I've never had super strong sexual attraction. I've never, been that into the whole physicality thing, period, to begin with. It wasn't something I wanted to do, mostly because I didn't get brainwashed by society into that. just because I didn't pay attention to every single movie or every single TV show that treats it like the best thing in the universe, when realistically it's not. You know, realistically, the best experiences you're going to have are going to be the emotional experiences, and they're going to beat out on the physicality 110% of the time. That's true for all elements. It's true for video games. It's true for love. It's just a part of the human condition, right? And so if you can mimic that in some other way besides physicality, then, great for you. And if you're someone that needs physicality, I have a feeling sometime in the future, certainly perhaps maybe after the US falls, certainly at some point, sex is going to be, at least the commodification of sex is going to be treated like any other basic need. It's going to be treated like food. So for instance, an example I've used in the past here in New York State, dairy is, food. It's a basic human necessity. The government has an incentive for people to overproduce it. So dairy farmers will produce as much milk as humanly possible, and any excess that doesn't sell at market, the government buys, turns into government cheese, right? They've done this for as long as I can remember. I don't know when it started. I'd have to look it up. But, sex work is probably going to be the same thing where there are government-sponsored, prostitution places, and it becomes, just something that's subsidized, like food, like anything else, like basics, like water, all of that. Government subsidized. And realistically, it might not be within our lifetimes, but at some point that's going to happen. It's going to be inevitable. Like, the people that say sex work is real work are quite wrong. It's not real work. It's going to be subsidized just in the same way that farming is not real work. I've said it before. So when we're talking about love and attraction, though, if you want to find attractive things, then the most attractive things are going to be the things you generate yourself. Like, period, you can make a person that's going to be more beautiful to you than any other person, but you will not be able to make a person that you love. Like, at least not yet. AI might make it possible, maybe, within our lifetimes, depending on, how good it is, how good these neural networks become. And as someone that's very interested in, I've been messing around with making a local language model that does ASMR, right? Where it pays attention and, sort of mimics it by interacting on the different sides of your head. I've used the 3DO on this channel before, right? So it's something like that. So I've been messing around with trying to, in my spare time, write something like that as far as just my own endeavors into local language models. I don't really have the hardware to run a proper neural network and all of that, and I'm not about to spend 20 grand to do it, but, in the future it's going to be something that can be run on a home PC, so it's just a matter of time. So, if you're worried about a lot of these things, if you're worried about a lot of these issues, just consider waiting around and judging by the future and getting to that point where a lot of these ideas, like the local language model, like, AI, like the commodification of love, actually come into being as real concepts. And then from that point forward, we can reanalyze things. And it's going to devalue relationships even further, and marriage in general is gone. It's on, the chopping block, and these are the elements that are going to help kill it further. So we need to progress in dismantling the idea and the institution of marriage, as well as the West in general. And this is one of the big ways we go about doing it. So work towards that, at least as far as your understanding and separating your attraction with your love.